Okay, Charlie in Pennsylvania, got your new radio here, TX5000 Plus, KPO. You're getting a brand new speaker for free for the pre-order by mail, so appreciate that and the patience. And here's the radio. I did dim it in the menu, so if you want it brighter, you can brighten it 2 more levels up. But I don't recommend running it any higher than you need or however your eyesight feels comfortable by looking at it. It is backlit, so if you have a dark room or something, you will see all these functions lit. They don't dim or brighten. They are at a fixed level. This dims and brightens the display and the channel selector. So it's a little easier on the eyes than the blue 6900V that everybody liked when I had those too. I like this one. It's just easier on the eyes. It's easier to see it. And what I want to talk about really quick before I jump into the radio performance is if you go into your menu and you have to press it each time to cycle through, you have number 14 here. This is step 1K. That's supposed to be a K, even though it looks like a, I don't know, like it's an F missing the top, but that means 1 kilohertz. So that's what our step is in. So basically what that means is, and I know you're a big sideband guy, and so am I, when you're using this radio, and let's say for whatever reason that they say go to 27500, so okay, well we're on 505, so I have this all lined up for band D, goes from channel 1 of CB all the way up to 27605. They're all lined up. It won't skip a beat, so you can go anywhere you want, but we'll just pretend that whoever you're talking to says go to 27500. Say okay, we can do that. So we'll go here, and then we have to transmit. So there's our receive frequency, so we set our receive first and we transmit, and then we turn that some more, and when you turn it counterclockwise you're moving down. So now transmit's locked, receive's locked. So let's pretend that the guy you're talking to is slightly off frequency. Like you hear him, but he's like, or you know how it is when somebody's off frequency. So what we'll do is we'll tap this button, and each time we tap it, you see a number flash. And that's changing our step size. So receive wise, say he's only like 8 hertz off frequency or something. He's not too bad. Maybe we'll say he's a little more, like 16 hertz. So, you know, or 160 hertz, however you want to look at it, you know, because if you added the 0 here, he'd be 160 hertz off, but that's a 0 that we don't get here. So 160 hertz high on frequency. It's quite a bit, but it's typical with certain older radios and stuff. So now you hear him fine. The good thing about this is when you transmit back, you're not off frequency. So you don't want to put yourself off frequency on a radio just to get someone else on frequency on the receive side. That's the wrong way to go about it. And some of these older radios that have the unlocked clarifier, that's the only option you have, and it's not the right way to do it. You want to hear the person, but you want to stay on your proper frequency. In this radio, by doing it like this is how you do that. So you stay where you should. You got him tuned in. Okay, when you're done with that, and the next guy you're talking to is like right on frequency, then you're fine. You just do that. And now if they say go to, I don't know, let's say they go to 27,600. Okay, we can do that. So now we're going to move back in, you know, and you can put this back or whatever you want to do, but it doesn't really matter because you can see where you're at all the time, and when you transmit, it's right. But I'm going to switch it back to 505 just because that's how I programmed it in. There we go, and then we'll do the receive. Okay, so now if we go to 605, we're moving in 10K steps because that's where I left the blinking number. Well, no, it's default right now to 10K. So when the numbers aren't blinking, it's in 10K normal, like a CV would be, you know, like this is 10K. So the channel selector is always going to default to 10K, and that's going to get you around rather quickly. So if you're used to running CVs, this is going to be normal. So everything else below here, you use this. So hopefully that makes sense. I didn't confuse it. It's not a super difficult radio to use on sideband. It's really easy. You don't have to run it like this. You can run it other ways and make this do other things if that's what you want. if you read the owner's manual and you experiment in the menu with this setting, which is right here and right here, those two, 15 and 16, they make this do different things relating to frequency and how it would operate. So I like it the way I have it. I find it's most user friendly in a sense, but everybody has a preference on how they want to do it. So it's not a big deal, but I just wanted to talk about that for a little bit. Otherwise, I'm just going to jump in and finish up with this on the alignment. I'll show you that really quick, and then we're going to drop this off to UPS today for you with the free speaker. You did ask me also about the KPO mic. You have this one. This is the 6-pin, otherwise called the P6, that works on President, Anytone, 6-pin radios. You know, not Ranger, but all the other models that are 6-pin, non-RCI Ranger. That won't work on this radio because this is a 4-pin. It's a non-traditional 4-pin, so you know your Cobra and Uniden mics will work, but what you need to remember is pin number 4 is a no connect on this radio on all mics. So don't make that mistake. It's not good for the radio. There's hot voltage on pin 4. It's for the channel up and down on the factory mic. So if you're gonna run any mic that you have, make sure you disconnect pin 4 from either the mic plug, or if you can trace the color wire, as long as it stays the same color wire going into your mic, just connect it inside the mic. That's what I do. I sell these. I convert it from a P4, which is your standard Cobra, Uniden 4-pin, Galaxy, whatever, to a DX, which the only difference of the DX mic is the wire on number 4 is disconnected. I used to do it here. I started taking the mic apart, taking the blue wire off internally and heat shrinking and hiding it away. It just works better. So then the mic is perfectly fine to use. If you want one of these, I can sell you one at a discount later if you decide, and I'll do that for you at no charge, because I do offer the bundle and save on this radio where you can buy the mic with the radio for a discount. So that's up to you. You can always let me know later if that's something you want to do. I'll do it for you. Alright, let's finish up here with the alignment, and I'll show you the power numbers, and that's going to be it. Okay, here's the transmit frequency, so it's really good, like these always end up. This would be for your AM and FM. FM high power I don't change, I leave that default, so that's the default level for this one. So low power will give you 1 watt, so we'll change that slightly here. That's just if you decide, you know, you got somebody locally that you want to talk to on FM and they're really close to you. There's no sense blasting them out with more power that you don't need. So just run 1 watt. If 1 watt's all you need, then by all means 1 watt is plenty. Okay, so this portion of testing is for FM deviation, which is your modulation on FM. So we're going to increase that because right now it's at 2.26. So this is like a little low in my opinion. I like about 4. Now if we're talking, I mean, you can crank it way up, but that's like horrible over modulation there. So don't do that ever, because it's going to sound bad and it's going to take up too much bandwidth and you're going to piss people off. Kind of like it's kind of like doing that on AM, where you just crank the living piss out of the modulation, and yeah, the average power meter is happy and everybody thinks that that's great, but what ends up happening is it's a big splatter effect on the adjacent frequencies or channels or whatever you want to call it. So it's not good. Whoops, I adjusted that just a little too much. It's definitely not good. So there we go, that's much better there. So that part is done. You get about 4.1 kilohertz. If you don't know what we're looking at, we're looking right here where it says deviation. You can see the max. I had it up to 11. That's just nuts. I'm surprised it lets you go that high. Alright, now we're looking at AM. I'm not sure how often you're going to use AM, but it's going to work good if you decide to. So I'm going to give you 8 watts. Find that's a really good number for these. I tend to turn it up just a little bit over 8 just because, but it's still right around 8. And then on the low power, I'm going to skip over that. It's going to be about 1 watt. Okay, still on AM. You can see that frequency's holding steady. That's awesome. So we're going to test modulation now. So got our oscilloscope here. We'll take a quick peek at that first. And it's looking pretty low. You know, that's kind of the trade-off when you lower that power down. The modulation goes way down, so that's not really desirable. So we're looking at here, this is AM depth, this is our modulation test here, so we'll just kind of bring the phone up a little closer this time, and now we'll try to make some changes here and make it look better. I'm shooting for about 95%. The way it stays clean. Yeah, it's good there. Now we can see how it magically turned into a nice looking waveform for AM. And that's beautiful right there, so it's going to sound excellent too for low power. For anyone wondering, the peak of this from about a 1 watt or so is about 4.58, so that's textbook right there. That's how it works. With voice, it's going to show more. Not consistently, but it will hit peaks and stuff, and with the mic and with you speaking into it and not yelling and screaming, just talking, it will obviously do more. But that's why I set it to 95%, so that way there's still a little bit of containment once some of those overshoots occur. And that's what those are, is when you speak, there's overshoots which jump the power up higher than a test tone, which is constant, because the human voice isn't constant. Okay, same thing here, nothing different, just higher power. This is the high side of AM, so same test tone going in. You can see how in the beginning, before the AMC clamped, it was way over mod for a second, and then it clamped. So already we're at 84%. So okay, we can do a little bit better than that maybe. Look at that, there's 95. Kind of like right in that range would be good. Yeah, that's good right there. Now we can see what happened here. It looks really good. It's all good. So, you know, it does give the effect that it is over 100 on the scope, which is normal. The scope sees modulation a little bit different. And that's the beauty of having this up here that's measuring, you know, modulation in the time domain. I think, you know, it's real time, so 95%. The max it's showing is 115 and the minimum is 0. So I like this because I know when I get it right around here, it always ends up looking good here. The two work in sequence and they work well. So, you know, that part is done. Oh, let me show you the power. So, again, 8 times 4 is 32. So with a little higher modulation percentage or whatever you want to say, it's showing about peak of 37. So it's definitely a talker, and it will do more with voice. So a little bit of overshoot, which is normal with all radios. That's why the radios that sound good on AM sound good, because they do allow a little bit of overshoot. Not enough to really cause a lot of interference, but the overshoot is what makes some radios more desirable for AM. The ones that don't have the overshoot are the ones that a lot of guys frown on, and some of the newer ones were like that. Okay, here's our sideband two-tone. This is also really important. So this is the factory. They don't do a bad job on these. They're much cleaner than some of the higher power ones. Like I've said before, I'm going to try to line up the 2 pips here as best as I can, because I want to do the third order intercept test. There we go, that looks good. We're looking up here anyways, so they're super close. The radio's coming in at like 23 something already, so yeah, we can clean it up just a little bit. They don't require much, and this is just me being really picky. There, that's perfect. So, you know, nice round waveform. This little bit of stuff that we see here is more or less just a byproduct of these IRF 520s. That's my understanding from the factory. I did get some clarification on that with a more modern radio on what that actually is. So it doesn't affect the performance of the radio is basically what they've told me. So it's kind of something I've learned, and I don't mess with things anymore. I just leave well enough alone. The waveform looks perfect though, nice and round. And now we'll go back and just quickly look at that test again and see, but this is what it looks like on a 20 kilohertz, so it's real clean. This is upper side, I believe. Yep. So we'll go back to our peak. And I know that if you're not really into this stuff, a lot of this is probably just senseless to even show, but I'm really into it. So I find more enjoyment out of this stuff than I do running big power amplifiers and going out there and screaming and yelling into the microphone. This is very enjoyable to me, doing these type of things and doing these radios like this. So everybody has their niche for the hobby, and this is something I really like to do. So alright, so we did clean it up some, and still it's right about 24, so it's a really clean sideband radio. Third order intercept is really good on this radio, so that's a good thing. And that's pretty much it for the alignment. Kind of boring, I know, but I enjoy doing this, and when I have a good radio in front of me like this that really performs well, it makes it so much better. The tests come out good, everybody's happy, at least I'm happy. I'm hoping that the guys that get these are happy. I know that a lot of them have been in the past, so I think it's going to continue to provide a lot of enjoyable radio experience and happiness, because they are a very sound performing radio. One of my favorites of all time here. I don't get to see them enough because they only run a production of them like maybe once a year, so it's kind of like when they sell out, it's a sad day. Obviously I keep one for myself, but you know, I wish I could keep these around the year and have a full inventory of them, but you know, and we'll see what happens with the new radios and how that goes too, because we'll probably end up trying some of those later. Okay, Charlie, so here we go. Here's the performance. Let me actually get this off of here. I don't need that anymore. Measurement off. Okay, so I guess this is where we're testing. I mean, I'm gonna come down to like mid band. I'll put this in LSB. Obviously no echo, any of that stuff's on. So we're going to test power now on sideband with the microphone. So we'll look up here at our peak reading meter, and again, that's our power right there. So right around 40, 45. Really good, clean audio, clean signal. Can't really ask for anything better. I mean, if you want more power, I think you already have something anyways that you can run if you wanted to. I would just recommend with that, I think you have a 503 HD if I remember correctly. If you're going to run that, you're going to want to turn this RF power down. And every setup is different, so it's kind of hard for me to really tell you where to put it. But I believe on that amplifier specifically, they say about 35 is perfect. Even 30 would be okay input. So this is your RF power on the outer dial. RF gain is here. RF power is the outer. Anything you see on the right is your inner dial. Squelch is, you know, here. So we're going to test it here and see where it shows. So a 1 2 3 1 2, that's obviously a little too low, but you know, better to be safe than sorry. So a 1 2 3 1 2 3, check check, 1 2 1 2. I mean, even that would drive it pretty good. There's no reason to drive the snot out of it. I'm just pretending that I have one in line here. I think they say 25 is a good number for it, 25, 26. So this would be perfect for it, you know. to produce the power that it's going to do. And just to give you an idea where that's sitting. Now again, every setup is different, so don't take this for like this is the only way to do it, because obviously if you're going into an antenna, you know, things are going to be different. So the radio might do a little more power, maybe a little less power. It just really depends on the whole factor, everything that you have going. But in the test environment here, that's about where you'd want it for sideband anyways. So obviously if we turn this all the way down, it's going to do like 4 watts. They all do about 4 or something. So you got about 44 to about 4. That's your range. And then FM, we already covered that. AM, with it all the way down, it's about a 1 watt, and then it's going to swing kind of all over the place. So, you know, like I said, there's a lot of like overshooting right now, and that's what pushes that power up. That's why we see those big peaks of power once in a while when I speak. The guys that, you know, they do the radio thing and they yell the audio, or they make weird sounds with their voice. What they're trying to do is like imitate like a constant sound, and that's going to make the radio show more favorable power for a longer distance, like on this peak meter here. I don't even use it for a meter anymore. It's just a line section for the coupler that sends my signal into here. But that's the reason they do that, because they want that needle to stay going. Well, this is a little bit faster measurement anyways, but it does pick up those peaks like I've said, you know, and that's why it's moving around like that. So if we turn this back up to 8 watts, picking up noise from the cord rubbing against the front of the radio a little bit there. You know, we got about 48 or so, so it's a good 45 plus, maybe just a little bit shy of 50, but really strong audio out of these, and they do really well on AM, so they sound excellent. So I don't know really what to tell you if you were going to use that 503. I think you have the HD on AM. They don't really give you a guideline for those on AM, so it's kind of difficult to even give you advice. But I would say start at about a 2 watt carrier. So if we can simulate that, we'll see what the radio wants to give us. So there's about 2.1, and we'll put this back in the big W as our peak. So about 2.1. See, it's going to swing quite a bit. And again, I don't know, because it's not consistent, you know, it's going to fluctuate. I personally think this would be a safe level for it. I know there's some guys out there that have way more experience running them than I would, because I generally don't run those. You know, it's not really my thing. I try to just talk with radio power most of the time anyways. I find it more enjoyable that way. But because I'm not a big show off or anything on the air, I don't really care. If I can make it, I can. If I can't, I can't. You know, no big deal. There's other stuff to do, like play with test equipment and stuff like that. But anyhow, I think this would probably be pretty good for it. You know, I mean, we are hitting over 35 sometimes, but it's not consistent. So I don't know. You know, it's one of those gray areas, I guess. You know, because over there in Europe where they make those, I think it's more about AM and FM, and that, or I'm sorry, AM. Geez, I'm talking about AM, but it's more SSB and FM. So AM's not widely used over there, I don't think, especially in that part of the European market. So that's why they only really talk about FM and sideband in the book for those amps. But the radio is fully doable, I think, for it. And then FM, I think it's safe to say on FM, you could put the whole 25 in, no problem, because they do reference that in the book. So let's just, and I didn't really show you where the 2 watts was. It really doesn't matter on this meter, because like I say, it's always going to change. But if we're looking at carrier, it's almost all the way up, and you can see that there. and then there's our 26 or so right there, so 25, whatever. So you know, it's designed on FM to take that kind of power. It says in the book. I think that's what you have, and if I'm mistaken, then I'm wasting my time even talking about it, but I'm pretty sure that's what you have. So with that, I'm going to say that this video went on long enough. I've showed you everything. There's a cool feature in here for receive. Let me show you that. Turn this volume up. You have your noise reduction circuit, which is number 9. When you tap this button, you see the channel selector is changing. Turn it on. See how it quiets down that signal, and then off. So I'll let you decide if you want to use that. That works on all modes. It's more desired, I think, for FM and sideband. AM, it tends to not really work as well on AM. I don't run them on AM. I don't really run FM ever here, not because I don't want to, it's just no one's using it. So I don't like talking to myself out there. I think I talk to myself enough on these videos. I mean, I'm talking to you guys, but it's almost like I'm talking to dead space in the room here. So anyways, with that, we're going to wrap it up. I say 73, and I got another nice radio heading out to the customer. So thanks a lot, Charlie, and if you got any questions, feel free to let me know. Take care.